Old school big box games from the olden days have a special place for me when it comes to retro stuff. Nothing quite like it has since ever matched the heft and solid feeling it provided, as they often came loaded with big manuals or awesome pack-ins that enhanced your experience. You brought home a big box game, you had something to pour over between gaming sessions, thinking of when you can play again. Compared to some console games from the same general era, they just don't stack up, often hinting at the difference in game complexity. After all, the PC was going through a renaissance around this era, with ever more complex games hitting the market. They came in many shapes and sizes, but the one I bet most people are familiar with is the sort of gold standard of sizes used primarily in the mid to late 90s. However, sadly, PC games went the way of smaller format box, eventually going to DVD-style cases before completely fading away into the realm of digital downloads. But that's not why we're here today. Today we're going to go through the big boxes I've managed to amass through my many years of collecting. Some I've had forever, some are newer, and a lot are somewhere in between. Join me as we go through my big box collection of games. Welcome back to Rick's Random Retro, where stacking is a bad word. Starting out in the action section, going through some of the games here in the first row, one of the things that stand out right away is Return Fire. Kind of a favorite of mine, a fantastic top-scrolling vehicular combat game, Capture the Flag. Super fun to play, especially in like hot seat or multiplayer. I do have Return Fire 2, which is a remarkably larger box, but it does not have, or it's sealed, I should say. And I haven't played this one yet, actually. I do have a loose copy of it, but I actually haven't tried it yet, so I'm excited to give that a shot. Going along the line here, we have Shadowcaster, which is an interesting one. I think it's kind of like a Wolfenstein 1.5, kind of think of it that way, because it has a more advanced 3D engine, but it's not quite Doom. And I think it's what Carmack worked on in between, but maybe I'm wrong there. That's what I seem to remember of it. Moving right along, there's some multiple other ones that I do enjoy. Ones that I haven't played that much. I do have a sealed copy of Ikari Warriors here, which is kind of odd and rare, and I apologize for the glare. It is really hard to capture glossy objects without reflections. So the glare, sorry, I'll just have to deal with it, but this is a sealed copy of Ikari Warriors I found in a local lot, which is, I mean, I'm not going to break the seal because I don't have a huge desire to play it, but I think it's kind of neat, so, but I'm afraid that it's going to need to be broken up to clean someday. We'll see. Anyway, we'll do that one for now. I also have a sealed copy of Mega Man Legends. That one just fell into with the local store here selling it years ago when they were trying to clear out old box games, so this was $6 at the time. Still sealed, never opened, but it doesn't feel like there's a whole heck of a lot in here. Moving on, we get to some of our favorite games, which will be the Crusader No Remorse and Crusader No Regret boxes. This is the European version, which is a little smaller than the Crusader No Regret here, which is the US version. You can definitely see the size difference going on. This is the kind of slide-over case that Origin used for most of their games in Europe that I know of. And then this one uses the kind of double clam shell that is used by the US boxes. So, fantastic games. I did do a quick wrap review of Crusader No Remorse. I'll put a link up here somewhere in the corner, one of the corners. Anyway, moving down one row, we get to Half-Life. I do have the Game of the Year edition, not the original copy, and then Opposing Forces. I do have 2 copies of Unreal Tournament. One is the Game of the Year edition, and the other one is the regular one. You probably can't have much more fun on a LAN party than Unreal Tournament. Just the original one is still fantastic for LAN party fun. We have the expansion pack to Unreal, and it's sealed. And I'll probably have to unseal this because it's starting to collapse in itself with the plastic shrinking. And just for record, I don't buy sealed games on purpose. It just happens to be that. I don't seek them out. But if a game is sealed and it's the same price, sure, I'll get it. Speaking of sealed, here is the limited run games version of System Shock. Love the design of this box. I haven't broken the seal yet. I probably will. But just how sturdy it is, and it kind of makes me regret now buying more of their big box games because the quality seems just phenomenal. We do have System Shock 2 right next to it, which unfortunately is not in great shape, but you don't say no to a local find of System Shock 2 box, right? The box is pretty squished, unfortunately. Probably needs a little fixing and curing at some point. But again, you don't say no to a local find of System Shock 2. Whoops. We do have the trapezoid boxes here, which kind of go their own way. Thief 2 and Tomb Raider. Those are pretty common, I think, at this point. We have the big box of Descent 1 and 2. And I will say, I love the size and heft of the Descent boxes. This one's also sealed, again, not on purpose, it just happened to get it sealed cheap. And I just love the heft or the sizing of the Descent boxes. They feel just so sturdy. I have 2 copies of Oni, whatever. That just happened locally as well. Just happened to run across another copy. Probably sell one of them at some point. One is not complete, unfortunately. And on Hitman. But that's it for the first action section. Let's go down a little bit to the next area. Moving right along, we get to kind of some of the more famous games I want to say here. This is actually the copy of, or I should say, my first big box game. I got Doom 2 for Christmas '94 from my brother, and I thought this was really cool. I had to upgrade my computer to even play it, but this has a special place in my mind because, again, it's kind of my first big box game, coupled with another one we'll get to later in the strategy section. But I don't know, Doom 2. You can't go wrong with Doom 2, and I do love the box still. It's still phenomenal. I love the artwork, the design, but this is my original box. It's still in quite good condition. I'm pretty proud of keeping it in that condition for so long. Next to that, of course, we have some other legendary games, such as the original Quake. Happened to fall upon this one recently, locally. Again, let it glare. There you go, there's the light. Having, played Quake in the past, and then actually playing it with the original CD with the soundtrack was quite a revelation. I do have the original box for Quake 2 here, of course, too. It's funny, this is the European version. It won't install on a US computer. You have to change the language of the computer to make it install, so I think that's a little funny thing. And I should mention as well, it's not just PC games around here. We do have Amiga games mixed in as well. Wild Streets, which is a mediocre game at best, but probably the most radical cover art ever. Look at that. I don't think anyone's rad enough to handle that one. It's got a panther on it. How cool is that? Anyway, we have a few other ones that are nice and favorites in the Star Wars series. So we have Rebel Assault 1 and 2. Dark Forces, my original copy that I had from when I was young. 2 copies of Jedi Knight, which one is from that I got from Europe growing up, and then also one that I bought recently here. I have Battlezone, the remake from 1998. But next to it, we have something that's probably my rarest box, I think. This is the sealed copy of the expansion pack, the Red Odyssey for Battlezone. As far as I understand, there were only about 400 of these printed for the entire market, for the entire world. And this is a sealed one, so I never broken a seal on this one. Got it a lot. Did not know the rarity of it until someone else commented on a picture when I posted when I got it. So pretty neat to have that one. I never played this. I think I can probably find some way to play without breaking the seal. But I think it's pretty neat just to randomly fall on that, because that's kind of how, sometimes that's how you find the rare ones, right? It's just falling on them. Next we have a big box version of Metal Gear Solid. I haven't even tried it on PC yet. Got 2 copies of Alien vs. Predator, same thing there. One from when I was growing up, one I found locally. One game over here I think is pretty neat is Zeliard. And this actually is a really good game. I was so surprised. Kind of like a Zelda-style side-scrolling dungeon crawler, but enjoyed it quite a bit. And the box is in immaculate condition. The person that picked up the lot that this came in seemed to take very good care of their games. And you get lucky that way sometimes. But it's a really fun game. Moving down, we have a couple of noteworthy ones. This one I think is pretty funny because this was Lord British or Richard Garrett's attempt to kind of restart the Ultima series. Never broke it. Never broke the seal, never played it. Saw it on Amazon for dirt cheap, bought it because, hey, it's a big box. It's just fun to have. But because next to that is the actual Ultima games. Again, got that from a big lot, actually, except Ultima 9. So I have then the Ultima Collection, Ultima 6, 7, and 8. Live stream 8, playing it then for the first time. And yeah, okay, never should try that. Ultima 9, play that. That was brutally buggy when I got it. But I thought it was cool. I worked my way through the beginning of that game through adversity and got quite a bit before the bugs just got overwhelming. That was the launch version. So I did play Ultima Online, Second Age. That's when I got into Ultima Online. This is really the only time I played it. Got that like nice fold out here with a fantastic hand-drawn map or hand-drawn image going on here. Great fun. And the archetype or original MMO, if you will. Got the Diablo 1 and then the box expansion for Diablo 2 and Diablo 2 itself. Nox, love that game. It's a fantastic entry into the action RPG series that Westwood kind of abandoned, unfortunately. I was really looking for a sequel to this, but it never came. So, in that same action style, and I should mention as well, we kind of transitioned, as you probably noticed, now from action to RPG. Forgot to mention that, but that's kind of the way we're going here. So, Revenant is a really cool game that's part of their trapezoid box set. Let's see if I can excavate it here. Revenant is also kind of like a Diablo-style game with fairly deep RPG elements and a just fairly compelling story, so I enjoyed that a lot. Going into the hardcore RPGs, Septerra Core is a traditional JRPG almost with a Western slant. This is still a sealed copy. Got it fairly cheap again. This feels like sometimes you can get lucky on the sealed copies, but that might be harder these days, I suppose. Really good game. I have a loose copy as well, so I can play it. I played a lot of MMOs, this will become apparent, and Dark Age of Camelot was one that I played a ton. This is my original copy that I imported from the US to be able to play, and I have the poster that came with this as well, that so I could play with my friends in the US and everything. But boy, that game was a lot of fun, although it's kind of rough by today's standards. We have a couple other small box games. This is Tangled Tales, a game that's kind of like an adventure game. I haven't tried it yet, but the same lot I got some of the other small box games like Zilliard over here came with these kind of adventure games, which we'll get to later as well, to the actual adventure games. But that's it for this section. Let's move on to the next one. Moving along, we're pretty deep into the RPG territory here. We'll go to adventure games shortly, but first we have some classics in the Might and Magic series. I do enjoy this box. I haven't played it yet, but I do enjoy just the size of the box. It feels very solid, and I guess it's a nice thing from the time, but it held up remarkably well. Got it in the same lot from the same gentleman that I got a lot of under adventure and RPG games here. Moving on to the Baldur's Gate series. It doesn't get any more legendary than that. Thoroughly enjoy the size and heft of this box, although it does hold a candle in the wind to the later US version of the expansion pack, Diablo, past that, Baldur's Gate 2, throwing a ball. You compare that to the European box version, and the US expansion one is a lot larger. And it may be that the US version of Baldur's Gate 2 is larger as well, but in this case here, it dwarfs the other ones. And same thing with Icewind Dale here. It also uses that larger formats. Perhaps that's what Black Owl used around that time, considering the Planescape Torment is the same size. So someone correct me there, but I do have the Final Fantasy VII in the non-trapezoid. Again, this is the European version. Same game. Played this on a Voodoo Accelerator on my PC. I thought I was so cool compared to my PlayStation owning friends. It's just, again, exactly the same game, but the box is in that kind of standardized format. They did not use the trapezoid boxes in Europe really at all. Moving on along, we're getting into other RPGs here now. Some of the ones I haven't played really. We have Wizards and Warriors Dungeon Master 2, pretty classic one, a dungeon crawler. We are moving on to some of the gold box games. I'm sure everyone's familiar with those. One is Commodore 64 and one is IBM actually here. Moving on to what probably most people spotted when we got to this section might be the original versions or release version of Police Quest and Space Quest. Pretty happy to have these. I didn't seek them out. Again, got them in the same lot from the same gentleman. Really good condition. Unfortunately, the floppy for Space Quest, one of them doesn't work. I think I had to install an alternate method. But Police Quest does work, and we did stream it actually on a 386 not long ago. I can put the link up, whatever site it ends up on, to that one if you guys want to check that out. It was kind of fun, even though I'm terrible at the game. I kind of have a common theme when it comes to me and old games. I'm pretty bad at them, but I do enjoy playing them. Moving down to the next row, we have King's Quest 1 and 2. I should say there's two versions of King Quest 2. I am not super familiar with the Sierra games, I should admit. So I'm not sure which one is which as far as like what version. But yeah, King Quest 2, two different versions here. I'm assuming one is the VGA re-release, and this might be the original one. But we also had King's Quest 1 now supports EGA. It's the latest. See if I can get those back in here without squishing them. Everyone cover your eyes. We have the collection boxes for Leisure Suit Larry and Space Quest. The only big box individual one I have of Leisure Suit Larry is Larry 5. I haven't played that one much. The Classic Adventures LucasArts is a little interesting because it has a collection, and we streamed it on the same 3 to 6 one for the previous link there. But Monkey Island, Indiana Jones, Last Crusade, Maniac Mansion, Zack McCracken, and Loom all in the same one. We had to install the a 525-inch floppy drive so I can actually get the data off this set of disks. And I can link that as well to the installation of that in my Pentium machine, so I can actually install the games. Next to that, we have a pretty legendary one, which is a phenomenal game. I'm still working my way through it, actually. I didn't play it originally. Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, the CD-ROM Talkie Edition. Really happy to have this one. Fantastic box. Love the game so far. I'm hoping to continue it. Then next to that, we have Zack McCracken and the Alien Mindbenders. Again, I didn't seek this one out. It was in that same lot. I know a lot of people hunt for this one. It's not sealed. It is open. And it's a really fun one to have. I do enjoy the style of box that LucasArts did in the beginning before they switched to the more standard size format here. And again, there's no rhyme or reason the exact order of these boxes, so I just don't have enough energy to perfectly organize them, so that's why I do the section thing. We do have the fantastic holographic reflective The Dig. Can't go wrong with that one. And next to that is probably one of my favorite LucasArts games, which would be Full Throttle. I'm not going to take it out, but you know what it looks like. Full Throttle is a fantastic point-and-click adventure game. A very short game, though, but it's still enjoyable every second of it, except maybe the car racing parts. Anyway, we have The Curse of Monkey Island, a newer Kickstarter game, Thimbleweed Park. I haven't played that one yet. And then we get to Under a Killing Moon, a fantastic series. This is not the first game in the series. I think Mean Street is. But you play as the detective Tex Murphy in a pseudo-noir future. Fantastic game and series. Spawned many sequels, including Overseer, which I have here. I haven't played that one yet. But they go super heavy into the full motion video stuff, which, some people like, some people don't like. But next we have Simon & Sorcerer 1 and 2. Very, I should say, British-style point-and-click adventure games with fantastic humor. They still hold up really well today. These are the full talkie version, the CD ones. They were released on, Amiga stuff too, without the talkie parts, but fantastic games yet to this day. So, with that, let's go to the next row. Actually, before we go to the next row, I just want to talk about one game in particular, and that's Ion Fury, one that I got fairly recently from 3D Realms. They re-released, or I shouldn't say re-released, they released this big box, which is like, oh, awesome, it's a big box. Look at the size of this thing. It doesn't fit in anything, even if you do this. You don't even have any text on it. It's just hilariously huge. Even grabbing that, throwing a ball large box we looked at earlier, look at that. It's enormous. It doesn't fit anywhere. It's why would they do this? I appreciate them coming up with a big box. This is just too big. Come on. Really? So now it gets to sit all the way at the top. Because why not? Maybe that was their intention, so that you would display it proudly. But I'm not a huge fan of those big collector boxes, unfortunately. Rant over. Now we're now finishing out some of the adventure games before going into strategy, like you can tell, getting into the sim area here. But some interesting ones that I guess are pseudo big boxes, I suppose. But these are games in these binders. Some games were released in this way early on. And both of these, I think, are pretty hardcore, survival or detail games. And the screenshots are clear from Apple or Macintosh back here. Higher resolution graphics create a compelling gothic setting. Anyway, I think they're kind of neat design, and especially Wilderness here. I mean, it looks like a Wilderness manual. I think that was just the intent, was to make it as hardcore wilderness survival game as possible. So it's not a big box per se, but it kind of belongs in the same category, I suppose. Just an interesting footnote. We have Inca, which I have Inca 2 is what I played originally. It came with my computer back in the day. Inca I haven't played yet. It's not sealed, you can tell, but really weird mixture of genres in this game. So I don't even know how to describe Inca, but it's like an adventure space talkie game, kind of. Anyway, we have I don't even remember what this one is. This is a Cinemore collection for Amiga, actually, I believe, that contains several of their games. But next to that, we got 8-Bit Guy, 8-Bit Guys, Planet X2 and Planet X3 big box copies. I'm sure everyone's familiar with those. I bought those recently for him. We have the Sim games, one Amiga, rest are IBM PC. The SimCity 2000 is a special edition with the silver case that has the extra information and stuff in it. The classic collection version of Street SimCity, I haven't really collected that particularly. I would like to finish out the White Box series, which I have a feeling many of collectors want to get. The Sims, we have Pirates, and then Railroad Tycoon. Fantastic games that I played a lot on both Amiga and PC back in the day. Moving down to the next row, we're getting into the kind of RTS series, you can tell. Mostly just dominated by Command & Conquer and Warcraft. Obviously, a lot to fill out if I want to finish in the collection of Command & Conquer and Red Alert and all the other series that spawn from it, but this is my original copy, which is, again, the European version. Same thing goes for Red Alert, and all the expansion packs are the European version, so they look a little different than the US ones that many may be familiar with. Can't really argue or beat those original games. Command & Conquer and Command & Conquer Red Alert, I think, are still phenomenal, hold up greatly, even though they remastered them recently in a fantastic collection. We have Dune 2000 as well. Also, do love that game. And I guess I skipped over one here that I think is a little rare these days. And that is Command & Conquer Soul Survivor. I never played it. Just happened to fall on this, not literally fall on it, I found it in the store. Copy, which is in pretty poor shape, but it was cheap, so why not? I know it's kind of like they tried to adapt the Command & Conquer game style into one unit and an online gameplay, if you will. So never played it. Neat to have. The box could certainly be in better condition. Moving along to the Blizzard entries into the RTS series, we have the original Warcraft, Warcraft 2. This is my original copy from when I was a kid. And then the big box version of Warcraft 3, which someone actually just gave to me from work. They're like, you collect games, right? Yep, here you go. Which I think the big box version of this was only sold, and correct me, in certain big box stores and retailers. Not everyone carried these, so not super easy to find, or at least cheap. StarCraft, of course, the Warcraft Battle chest, not that interesting. Total Annihilation and Total Annihilation to Core Contingency. I played Total Annihilation, that's not easy for me to say, Total Annihilation. Played that a ton. Downloaded all the new units, all that good stuff from the internet back in the day. Phenomenal experience, you know. Played that in multiplayer, and yeah, that was a great game. It still is a great game. I did love the expansion pack, Core Contingency, greatly. This, unfortunately, is missing the insert, so I have to fix that at some point. It's also a larger box, but this is the US version, the other one is the European version. This may be the most bang for your buck any expansion pack has ever given, I think, because it had so much stuff in it. So many new things. Yeah, 75 new units, 50 new maps, 25 new missions, 6 new worlds. It added just more of everything. Almost a mandatory addition to the game. We do have the offshoot Total Annihilations. I can't say it. Total Annihilations. Kingdoms after that. Total Annihilation, not Annihilations. And then the ground setting Homeworld and Homeworld 2. This is my original copy. Homeworld 2 I bought later, but also phenomenal game. It is groundbreaking 3D-based RTS game. That is it for the strategy games here. So let's move up to the next row. Continuing on with strategy games, we kind of get into some of the 4X games here, of course, with Civilization 2 and 3. Don't have a box copy of Civ 1, which I'd like to get at some point. We do have a sealed copy of Colonization here. Game I used to play on the Amiga, I believe. Again, not intended to collect a sealed copy, just kind of happened that way, as it usually does. I probably need to unseal this one because it's starting to shrink too much, but I do have it. A game I played a lot was Alpha Centauri, for sure. I do enjoy Age of Empires, Age of Kings, Age of Empires 2. I did not originally have Age of Empires 1, but I actually came across that recently. You can see this is the EU version of the game of 2, which is considerably smaller than the US version, if I can get it out here. You can see the size difference here is actually pretty remarkable. There's quite a bit of a difference. Not exactly sure why that is, but that's just the way it was, I guess. The European boxes, in this case, were smaller, and the American one was larger. I'm not sure on the other territories. Moving on to some of the Micropro strategy games, and one game that is dear to me. This is my other game that I got on Christmas '94, which the first one was Doom 2, way back in the other section here. Transport Tycoon is a fantastic business empire simulator where you're building, railroads, bus routes, airports, stuff like that. Still fully playable today, I would say, and there's a fantastic kind of remake of it, an open TTD these days. It's an open source version, but This game is fantastic still, and this is dear to me. I read through this manual many, many, many times before I understood how the game actually worked. Excuse me. Sadly, the floppies do no longer work because they were mistreated as I was younger. But the game is still a dear place in my heart, so fantastic game. Next to it is Pizza Tycoon, which is also a phenomenal business sim. Although, in this case, it's you're running a pizza empire. There were many versions that come out later, I think, of different kind in different regions. C64 game here, Platoon. See anything else here on this row here? Ascendancy is actually a little lesser known, like Master of Orion style, which we'll get to next. 4X empire building in space, which I enjoyed greatly. It's got a fantastic atmosphere to it. And it plays like most other 4X games, but really well-made game. Love it. And the box is really cool, too. I think it probably had different versions in different regions, but did enjoy this game greatly, and I still do. We have a couple of more RTS games up here as well, with Dark Reign and Dark Reign 2. I don't think they were making quite as much splash as some of the other RTS games of the era. One back here, if I can reach it, is Afterlife. This one is all interesting because it's got kind of this double design of the box, right? So you have both sides working. It's kind of like a city management sim almost from LucasArts. It's an odd one. I haven't played it yet. I remember reading the reviews of it and everything, thinking it looked really cool. Probably one of the little less known LucasArts games. And unfortunately, this box isn't in great condition. It needs a good clean. I think it may have come from a smoker's home. You know what it is when you collect big boxes, and yeah, it's all yellowed. So it needs a little TLC, but it's there, and I think those are a little rare these days. See if I can get the light here. It's a little difficult to film in this area here because of the way the light shines on these boxes, but moving on to other strategy games, we have Lord of Realms 2, fantastic, what do you call it, country management sims from the Middle Ages. Caesar 2, fantastic, I say fantastic a lot, I guess. They're fantastic games. A fantastic city builder game. I did have the big box of Caesar 3, sadly, I do not anymore. I hope to fix that at some point. Syndicate Wars was the follow-up to the trend-setting game Syndicate from Bullfrog. Maybe not quite as popular and successful as the first one, but still a fantastic game. Some games that I feel are a little less known is the Imperium Galactica series. I thoroughly enjoy these. The boxes are phenomenal, super hefty, and the manuals are just very heavy. I can feel the weight on them. They mix base or city building with empire management, with fleet management, and RTS elements. Just a little bit of everything. I'm really sad that series kind of died out after 2 great games. We have Star Wars Rebellion, which is kind of a 4X game, kind of like a Civ and space game, or Master of Orion style, that is set in the Star Wars universe. This is terrific. Z, a kind of like a RTS with character. It's an odd one. So a squeaky box. Hopefully there's not a mouse in there, but a game that I think didn't hold up as well as I remembered. I enjoyed it when it came out, but I didn't enjoy it recently playing again. Black Gold, part of the live stream for the 386, phenomenal business sim from Germany, I believe. Dungeon Keeper 1 and 2, I don't think I have to tell the audience here much about Dungeon Keeper. Bullfrog's legendary Be Evil, featuring Horny, the main, because he has horns, the main bad guy you can use in this game. You build your own little dungeon trying to ward off the Lord of the Land trying to, rid you from the land. Fantastic games. We have a sealed version of Mech Commander. This is sealed just because it has one of those little stickers on the top and the bottom. I have not opened it. I've heard really good things about this. I never did play it. I should probably play it at some point. I'm not too worried about unsealing games to play them. I've heard really nothing but good things about that one. We have a few other small random games here. Ground Control. And we have a pretty cool box art for Dusk of the Gods. It's a Viking-based game. I haven't played this yet. I should probably check it out at some point, but I like the box. Again, this era of boxes, probably late 80s and early 90s. This is 91. A lot of them are just really sturdy. They're smaller. And, you know, some of these large boxes are pretty big and they have a lot of empty air in them. These things, usually not. They're very sturdy and solid. So that's it for that section. Let's move on down. Continuing on, we go on our escapade here through some other 4X games. We have Master of Orion 1 and then Master of Orion 2. Boy, did I play this a lot. This is, again, the European version. It's kind of that slide-over case that apparently was pretty common in Europe, at least. Fantastic 4X game. One of my favorites of all time. Still play that to this day. It's one of those you fire it up and just lose track of time. Other games that I've gotten that I haven't played yet. Blood and Magic. We have Vikings, another Viking game. And fantastic game again. I do like the word fantastic. The Heroes of Might and Magic 3 Complete Edition, which is Heroes of Might and Magic 3 with all the expansion packs in it. I don't think I've had more fun from one game box more than this. There's so much content in this, and Heroes of Might and Magic 3 is one of those games that goes on forever. I did live stream that. I'll put that up here as well if you want to watch me fumble around that game for a while. Still holds up pretty well today. We have some other strategy games. Battle Isle is the first in that series. I had only played it on Amiga originally, so I thought it was pretty cool to find the box. Sadly, the print on it is not very good, so maybe this is a later gen box or something. I'm not sure, but the quality on it is not super great. It's kind of just, it looks like it's printed on like a home printer almost, but maybe it's a reproduction box, I'm not sure. It was shrink wrapped when I got it, so I did unwrap it to use it. We have a few other ones that are, again, the kind of smaller, sturdier box from earlier times. So this is Centurion, Defender of Rome. Let's see, this is, doesn't say the year on it here, but it's certainly one of the earlier games. Kind of this like folded style with the information on the side and inside here. I think these original smaller boxes are, I think, a really cool design and just neat to have. We have one game over here that I played a ton. We're getting into the flight simulator and simulator area now, as you can see. This is Aces Over Europe, a phenomenal, I didn't say fantastic, a phenomenal flight sim from Dynamics of the day. I think Sierra probably bought or assimilated them later. You fly missions over Europe in World War II. I just remember doing like these bomber runs or trying to shoot down bombers and stuff like that. Just put a lot of hours into this game, and I didn't really have a good machine to play it on, and then I got a pension machine later to really run it, and like, oh my goodness, I didn't know what was missing, but phenomenal flight sim. Very period correct, as it were. We have the Jane's games. If you're collecting and just pick up whatever boxes you find, you will absolutely pick up some Jane's combat simulator games in the flight series. So I have a few of those. We have F-22 here as well, a few other flight sims. This one, my friend played on Amiga a lot. This is B-17 Flying Fortress, a strategy game, and the manual on this one is redonkulous. It is very, very heavy. It's a little funny because this box art, this is imported from Canada, I believe, and the box art is different in the US because this was a little bit too risque for the US market, I suppose. But it's a great game where you're managing your bomber crew running bombing missions over Germany in World War II. Really fun game. We have a few other ones. I have Privateer. I think I remember playing this one. Maybe not. This is the CD-ROM collection version that has the speech pack and everything included. I do have an interesting footnote here. I definitely need to unseal this one because it's getting pretty bad. This is the Privateer speech pack still sealed. So this would have added to the Wing Commander Privateer then. The other gold version had this included. But this would have added speech onto the basic version of the game then. But yeah, it really needs to be open probably at some point and taken care of. The next section, which is probably familiar to many, is the X-Wing Collector's Edition, the TIE Fighter Collector's one, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. My favorite of these is probably TIE Fighter. Just that flying for the Empire was just so much fun. And I think I've told the story otherwise, but I used to play this at a friend's house with a trackball. So to move around playing the game, he didn't have a joystick. We would actually spin the trackball really, really, really fast to kind of shoot down those hippie rebels. Super fun game, still is, and I love the atmosphere in it. A few other games that I picked up recently, again in a lot. Some of the Descent Free Space series, and I do have to say, these boxes are just really cool. Like, yeah, sure, there's nothing special about them, but just the heft of them, just the style, the glossy cover and everything. It's just a good, old-fashioned PC big box game. Just love the design. that's it for this year. We're going to switch over to what's left, which is some more flight simulator stuff and racing games. Right back. Turning the corner here, as you probably notice my shelf is kind of 90-degree angle here. It's a little harder to get into this corner here. Anyway, we have a few other flight sim games, including the actual Microsoft Flight Simulator. This is version 5.1 CD-ROM, now flying on CD-ROM. Pretty cool version of the game, but obviously not the original or anything. This is a later enhanced version, obviously. Still really fun to play, honestly, especially with comparing it to the brand new ones. Then we get into some of the more kind of borderline flight simulator, or simulator games, I should say, with some of the MechWarrior series. I did play MechWarrior 2, came bundled with my Voodoo card, actually. So this is the Mercenaries Titanium Edition. Mercenaries was one where you were tasked with keeping your mechs alive and everything in between missions and doing all the repairs. I think it's probably missing some stuff. I do need to do inventory on which things I have and which things I do not have for these boxes. We have Falcon, a flight simulator for the Amiga. This is a small box, but boy, is it sturdy. I love the screenshot here. It's pretty, I mean, it's monocolored. There's no color in the screenshot at all, so, you know, good way to sell your game. We move then on to some of the racing games. We have Test Drive 3, The Passion. This is one of my favorite style of boxes, in a sense. It's old-fashioned classic. It's got that double clam design, if you will. Glossy, just fantastic sturdy box, great artwork, great contents. There's no like special pack-ins or anything, but just a really, really cool box. That's what I'm trying to say. Just a classic box. Good box. We go into the Need for Speed series. If you're collecting big boxes, you probably run into Need for Speed in some variety. This is my original Need for Speed from when I was young, and I played this game a lot. It was just a fantastic driving simulator for the era. I don't think any other games really tried to do what this was doing with so many showcases. It was like a virtual magazine within a driving game included. Going through some of the other ones, we do have Need for Speed 2, the Gold Classic Edition. Need for Speed 3. This is a sealed version, which is the double one. I think this one a little more rare, I'm not sure, but it's got the turnaround cover for the, escapee and the pursuer, if you will. And I think this one was only sold in some of the big box outlets, Mega Mart in this case. A little harder to find, perhaps. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't remember. Yes. Anyway, we have Ignition. Some more racing games here. Ignition is a fantastic, I just keep saying that word, a really, really good top-down racing game. I have streamed that one way back in the day. I can link to that as well. It is an old stream. But super fun game, holds up fantastically well till today. Next to that, we have the complete polar opposite of Ignition, which is Carmageddon. Everyone probably remembers that, but this is the US edition. So this one I found later on in a lot, I believe. That's kind of the par for the course of a lot of these things. Found them in a lot. Everyone knows about Carmageddon. It's a fun box to have. Moving on, we have Motorhead, a great, I didn't say fantastic, a great racing game. And the box has unfortunately seen better days. And the box itself is not super inspired, but it is a terrific game. In fact, the quality of the artwork on the back here is super low res, actually. But still, just super fun to play still. We do have some pinball games. We have Pinball Fantasies for the Amiga. That's probably pretty legendary. Unfortunately, the box is pretty beat up and needs some fixing up, to say the least. But if you've been in the field, I should say, long enough, you probably have seen or played Pinball Fantasies. And then one that probably pops up a lot is these. This is sealed, but it's like they split out, I think it was Epic Pinball or something, maybe? They split them out into multiple ones. You could buy them individually with all those tables together in one then for, like, I think Epic Pinball. But this is the Enigma one. But boy, that looks fun. Look at that exciting pinball table. One thing you get included in this entire box. So they usually can be had dirt cheap. We have some edutainment software and then some things like the Star Trek Encyclopedia Reference Guide to the Future, version 3.0. Oregon Trail, you gotta have Oregon Trail. Gotta have Oregon Trail. And some other board game related ones like Monopoly and Risk and Chess and things like that. We do have the bundle collection of Alone in the Dark, which is a smaller box that actually slides out like this to reveal the games. And unfortunately, I'm missing the version or a copy of Alone in the Dark 3 in here. But it is an interesting collector's design. Whoop. This, of course, coming out quite a bit later than the original games as a kind of slide, and I believe this is Light in the Dark. Hi, Cat. A Light in the Dark box as well. However, next to that, I kind of jammed in a few interesting ones, and these are kind of like the, what would you call it, the LP style covers or cases. So this is for Amiga, but here we have Ferrari Formula 1. A pretty cool, like you get a lot of neat picture here of it inside of a F1 car at the era. But I do like these designs. They're really cool. I only have a few of them. We have Arctic Fox, a tank simulator, future tank simulator for the Amiga, as good as it could do. We have Alien Fires, 2199 AD. Again, not fantastic game probably, but still the design is really cool. And here's Mean 18 Accolades. This is for the IBM, so this is not the Amiga one, but just the design of these are really cool. Like it fully folds out like this. I'm trying to even show it in frame here. And then some of them, or the stuff for the game is actually jam-packed in the corner here, but it's a really neat design that kind of disappeared pretty quickly. I have a feeling these are harder to find these days. I do prefer the big boxes, but these are still pretty neat. So let's switch to one of the last sections. And I am crammed down in the corner here because this is the last section, which probably most of us have that collect big box games, and that is the small box area. Got quite a few of them. Most of them are pretty well known. Hi, Cat. The ones that might stand out a little bit are things like, I'm trying to find them here now, I kind of mix them in here, but we have a few that are actually a little bit older. Like here's Ball. This is actually a Psygnosis game, which is fantastic box art. This is, interesting enough, almost exactly the same size as most of these like small boxes, but this is of course a much older game for sure. I believe I have at least a couple more of these. Yeah, here we go. So we have Future Dreams, which is a collection of 4 different Amiga games. We have Champion of Barrage, which is a PC game. I never played this, but it's still interesting how these old games just line up so perfectly well with this kind of this later, how PC games started coming out, that era when they dropped the big box games. And you can, of course, see the cavalcade of Blizzard games, including World of Warcraft and all its iterations and expansions. We do have a few of the later release games further down here in the corner, but they were kind of uninspired at the time, I feel. So they are not interesting, and I kind of stopped subscribing to them, I believe. But other than that, we have a lot of the in-between games for the small box collection here, but nothing super exciting beyond what I just showed, so that should round it up. So, do I have a goal with my collecting? No, I don't think I'm trying to say complete X series or fill in specific gaps. The more pressing one I think might be to buy back games I used to have, but it's slow going because I'm cheap, and even in the face of overwhelming nostalgia, I just can't bring myself to pay what feels like pretty inflated prices the current market has. Maybe that will go down again, I'm not sure, but it does hamper the buying process somewhat. So, besides that backfill, I just either piecemeal together games I remember seeing, or ones that just look interesting at the right price. I still hold out for local lots popping up, although they're becoming increasingly rare to say the least. Collecting is often the hobby of someone that has luck, patience, or deep pockets, or any combination of the 3. I generally don't have any, but I do make do. So, I hope you enjoyed this look at my big box PC game collection. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time. If you stuck around to the end, first off, thank you, this was a long one. Feel free to check out some of my other videos if you enjoyed this one, and be sure to catch me live on Thursdays at 8:45 p.m. Central.